Frankie, Nuno's in a point against Everton. Let's talk about the managerial appointment first, and we'll talk about the game, and then a little look ahead to Arsenal coming up at the weekend. We did a podcast on Friday. It was due to go up Saturday and never seen the light of day because it was out of date. We were discussing about how Potter was asking to be sacked in his press conference, which I would suggest we were correct maybe by stating that, given that less than 24 hours later, he was actually sacked. So for context, we're recording this on Tuesday and it's going up first thing on Wednesday, but I don't think Nuno's going to get sacked before then, so we should be okay. This should last more than one day, unlike the last one. Were you surprised that Potter was gone on Saturday morning?
Yeah, I was. We had a friendly against Dartford. So big game. I was feeling the pressures of playing Dartford, and then all of a sudden someone shouted over and said Potter's gone, and it was it come as a big shock. You sent the message through saying our podcast is ruined, and I was like, well, what's happened? Is the recording gone wrong, or because I'm focused on the football? And then the penny dropped as to why. So it did come as a bit of a surprise, to be perfectly honest, but needed to be done.
You wouldn't have even got time to think about who you wanted to come in to replace him because by full time, Nuno was already here pretty much. So what did you make of the appointment pre-Everton?
Yeah, we discussed it. It's not something that I felt was there's many reasons why it was the right option. There's many reasons why I think it can all end in tears. And I've not totally changed. Naturally, I've warmed to the idea a bit more. Just because I think from a stability reason and getting us out of the situation that we're in, I think we won't have any problems doing that. I think he's the perfect manager to drag us out of where we are, and I don't think we'll be looking over our shoulder come the end of the season. So based on that, great appointment, all absolutely fine. Based on history and how he normally ends up with owners of football clubs, I still think that potentially it's a bit of a recipe for disaster. If he can fall out with them owners, our owners are the most easiest people in the world to fall out with. It seems like it's only a matter of time. So, look, I don't see it as this is West Ham's long-term manager. I think we'll have another managerial change on the horizon somewhere. I was watching TalkSport earlier on, and they was talking about Brady, and she'd come out the week before, or was it 2 weeks before? And she was saying how Potter was this man manager.
10 days. Between that statement and Potter being sacked, there was 10 days.
There you go. So what she said, how we don't rush these decisions and we give managers time. I mean, Lopetegui had 4 or 5 months, whatever it was. You know, they've then done this with Potter. So look, it is something that we do. Simple as that. We've had so many managers in the past few years. I think we're going to need another one further down the line. But for the time being, this will put us in a position where we don't have to worry this season. So I guess on that basis, it's all right.
In regards to the Everton game, were you happy with the point?
Yeah. Geo called it. Nice with your 1-1 prediction. I felt like your enthusiasm for 1-1 in the watch along was far too enthusiastic. So I'm blaming you that we didn't get the win, Geo, by the way.
Okay,
however, at one point, Geo, I thought we was going to go on and win it. I really did. First half performance, okay. Second half, I thought much improved. In fact, I would go as far as saying in the second half, between that sort of 60th and 80th minute, we probably played the best football I've seen us play for a very long time. So on that basis, very happy. Got a bit nervy towards the end. Mavropanos did his best to throw it away for us. Absolute. I don't know who I blame more, Gio. Areola for giving someone like Mavropanos the ball on the edge of our area like that, or Mavropanos for doing what he did when he had a simple ball down the line. But we held on. Good point. Decent way to start. And overall, pretty happy, mate.
What did you make of... I think there's 2 players in particular. Their performances, I think, have split a lot of opinions. I think most people are in agreement with most players' performances. But I want to ask you about the 2 that are... I feel like I've seen... People say he's had a good game. People say he's had a terrible game and everything in between. And the first one is Magassa.
Yeah. I'm going to add a third one in because I know you're not going to mention this player, but I want to. But we'll start with Magassa. So Magassa, I thought was fine. In at the deep end, Premier League football, quick. He does dwell on the ball a little bit. But in the first half, he played that ball through, which caused a bit of problems. You thought Fullkrug could get on it and didn't quite, unfortunately. But that was decent from him. It was an average, okay performance. He wouldn't be someone who stood out as someone who I would be saying had a good performance or necessarily a bad performance. He just had a very steady introduction to starting in the Premier League, I guess.
Yeah, I thought he had a shaky start. I think in the first 25, 30 minutes, I thought he was looking a bit rough, which is, I think, expected. I don't think it's unusual, given his age and it's his first start for us, first start in the Premier League. I think expecting him to struggle a little bit, I think is fair. But I thought he really grew into the game, and by the end of it, and I think he got taken off, as I say, at the right time. Had he got taken off 5 minutes before that, I'd have been happy. But he had to come off. He was on the yellow card. But I think in between that, I liked what I seen, actually. I felt like we were looking at a midfielder, by the end of it, quite comfortable in possession. And that ball for Fullkrug, it wasn't just a pass. It was the fact that when he made it, he was under pressure. He was holding an Everton player off as well and looked quite comfortable doing it as well. There was no panic. He was just using his body really well, using his strength, shielding it, looking up, not much on. Right, I'll try that pass. Didn't quite work. But it was only, like you said, half a yard away from being perfect for Fullkrug. And I thought there were some nice passes from him between the lines as well. I liked what I seen. I'm quite encouraged by it. I think if that was an academy player that had produced that performance in his first ever start, I'd be sat here buzzing about it. Look at this kid, Frankie. Look at him. He's fantastic. So I'm pleased, which I feel like a relief because I thought off the bench against Palace, he did not look good at all. And then the first 20 minutes, he didn't look good at all either. So I was thinking, oh no. But yeah, once he went off, I was thinking, looking forward to seeing him again. Who's the second player you think I'm going to ask you about?
Paqueta.
No, Fullkrug.
Ah.
Who's the third player?
We're going to need 4 here. We might as well do a player review at this stage, Geo.
Brilliant. Now, to be fair, Paqueta, I think most people just thought he was crap.
Fair. Yeah, I didn't think he. Look, I didn't think he had a bad game.
Yeah,
but great. He just looked that it was the lethargic Paqueta. It was the Paqueta who looks a bit laboured, a little bit lazy, a little bit disinterested. I don't think he'd done anything. The most biggest thing that frustrated me with Paqueta was in that final third, one, giving the ball away too often. And then when he did, we've got him penned in and he'd go and give away a silly foul. Yeah. And you were just banging your head going, why have you just let them off the hook? We've got pressure on them. They're on the ropes here. We've got them pinned in. And you go and give away a free kick. Then I can pump the ball up. And it's just ridiculous. And just stuff, game management that he should know better with, really.
Yeah, I think perhaps maybe a bit harsh. I think most people feel like he had a poor performance. He just wasn't at his best kind of thing. But Fullkrug is the other one I think I've seen a lot of contrasting opinions on.
Did we do double or quits or not?
No.
Oh,
I wasn't taking it, and I'm glad I didn't.
I'd be feeling very comfortable right now.
I paid you. There's no double or quits. I've already sent you the money.
There we go. So, I mean, you still got paying to do double or quits, Geo. Do you know what I mean? But it's again, I just don't see him affect the game enough for me. You can understand somebody who gets a bit isolated. I do think he was a little bit isolated again. What didn't play into his hands is it was very clear that they'd been told not to put the ball into the box. There was a couple of times where we had the opportunity to cross. We refused to do. We just wouldn't put the ball in. So it's obviously that they'd been told, look, putting it in there when you've got the likes of Keane, who I thought was excellent in that first half. He just swallowed up everything. I can understand why you don't just want to lump it in there. But it did just mean that he become very isolated. He had to drop very deep to try and get involved in the game. And the whole game just didn't suit him, to be honest. And that's why my only, and look, this isn't a knock at Nuno. This isn't me going, oh, moan at the manager. There's no moaning at the manager for the foreseeable future. He's just come in. He's only been there a few days. He's got jobs to do. But you can still call out events as they happened. I was very surprised Fullkrug wasn't taken off after the 60th minute. I felt like he should have been changed much, much earlier. And if I'm honest, I think the game was there to be won. Like I said, between that 60th and 80th minute. And maybe Wilson could have done something for us, you know?
I don't think you're saying anything offensive here. I completely agree with you. I think when Guilherme came on, I think that's when Wilson should have come on for me, because I could understand why he wants to be a little bit careful. You can only stop the game 3 times, and he'd already stopped it early on in the second half for Potts Magassa sub. And I understand that he might want to keep his third stoppage in his back pocket for late on in the game, depending on how the game's going. I get that. So when Guilherme come on, I think Wilson should have come on as well. I think a different type of striker would have been beneficial. We've seen Wilson be effective against a higher defence. Ironically, against Nuno's Nottingham Forest. So yeah, I think that's the sub I would have made as well. And I agree. I think the game was there to be won. That's why when I was coming to the end of the watch along, I said to everyone in the chat, is it a point gained or is it 2 points dropped? And people were saying, I think it's a bit of both, really. It's a good point, but maybe we could have got something. And I think my feeling was that if we had had Nuno for another week or two, I think we might have won that game, actually. I think if we were to go play that game again in 2 weeks and we got the exact same Everton, I think we might come away with all 3 points. He just didn't have long enough. He had 2 training sessions. There was only so much he can do in that time. And there was some differences between Potter's West Ham and Nuno's West Ham. And I think the attitude being the big one for me, which you perhaps don't need training sessions to do that. Maybe just getting rid of Potter did that. But certainly dropping Ward-Prowse altogether from the squad and then going on Sky Sports and say it's for the benefit of the team. I mean, that's a serious cojones decision to make. And I do just wonder, if we had a little bit longer with Nuno, maybe we would have won it. So I don't think you're saying anything drastic. In regards to that Ward-Prowse thing, before we get your mystery man that you want to discuss, what did you make of that Ward-Prowse decision? Well, I think it was perhaps welcomed. I think it was, sometimes we'll moan about something and people say, why are you surprised? Hang on a minute, we're not surprised, right? Just because you thought it was coming doesn't mean you can't moan about it, right? You can still have emotion even though it's not surprising. But actually, I think on this one, I think there was an element of surprise. Not the fact that he was taken out to start in 11. I think there was an element of relief and happiness. But the fact that he wasn't even on the bench and then to say it's for the benefit of the team, that felt quite... I mean, that's a big call. But also, I know you're going to like it because I know what you're like as a person. But that's a manager of stones.
Yeah, it showed a man who wanted to come in and stamp his authority. It showed a man who wanted to come in and... There's 2 ways that I look at this. I hope it is that. It's a man who's come in, stamping your authority, shaking things up, showing people that he's got a standard and that standard's got to be met. And it's as simple as that. I almost wish he would have done it with one more player. And I don't know who that is, but I wish he'd have also... It felt very much like a vendetta from the past, more than I'm stamping my authority.
Could I throw a proposal here? Perhaps he has done with Todibo.
Yeah, maybe.
Because he wasn't on the bench. He just didn't, as far as I'm aware, just didn't get asked about Todibo. And we haven't heard he's injured or anything like that. Whereas Ramsaka, we've heard he's injured, but there's not that explanation there for Todibo. So his absence is still unexplained. And it could be that Nuno's heard about what he was like with Potter and, the reports he's turning up late. Because at the end of the day, Nuno's gone in there and he's not got any backroom staff. So you'd imagine even if he did, he would still speak to some people at the club. But he's working with staff that were there under Graham Potter and Lopetegui and David Moyes. So those people around him for those 2 days will be telling him exactly what every single player is like. And this will include Todibo under Potter and Lopetegui, who, as we've been told, it's not great. And he's fell out with both and he's been turned up late. So if Nuno hears that from everyone at the club that he's working with, he's well within his right to say, I'm not standing for that at all. I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm not even going to give him a clean slate. No, that's it. Like, he's disrespected the club already, so he starts off on minus Nuno points. We'll see what he's like in training in the next few weeks, but maybe he's already stamped his authority twice.
Yeah, maybe he has, and it's just not being spoken about. So if that's the case, then great. I'd just like to say, I hope it's not pettiness, because I don't like pettiness from managers. He did go to Nottingham Forest. He didn't impress him. He didn't really get any opportunities, didn't really get any chances. But this is a different circumstances, different team. He's still part of the team. He's still a player at West Ham. There were plenty of players who didn't come off the bench and probably were never going to come off the bench. So did it need to be? Has Ward-Prowse done anything to this squad that's so bad that he needs? So Tadiba, I can understand turning up late.
Yeah.
That can ruffle the feathers of the squad. It can piss players off. It can really, a bad apple is a bad. I'm not sure James Ward-Prowse is a bad apple.
No, quite the opposite.
But
quite the opposite. Yeah,
exactly that.
I would assume that he's almost like the model professional.
Yeah, and many people say he is, which is why he was touted for vice captaincy. Look, all things that we didn't want, all things that we wanted to move on from, and we feel like Ward-Prowse has had his day, and that we need more mobility in that midfield. And that Magassa decision makes perfect sense for everything we was looking for. I called Magassa. My old man phoned me before the game and he said, I think we'll see Potts. And I said, I don't think so. I said, I think we'll see Magassa. I just think that he would be the one that would be seen to have more experience at the level. And I felt like he would, to a manager who's coming into a bit of an unknown, like you said, very difficult to make all the decisions and see what you need to see in a couple of days. I know in his press conference, he said, look, I kind of know the players. I certainly know them more than they know me, because I've had to scout them. I've had to pick teams to play against them. So I kind of know what to expect from the players. So I understand that. But it would have been easy for him to put Potts in. I think it would have been a fan. I think the fans would have loved it. That was very clear when he come on yesterday and the songs that they were singing. So it would have been an easy win for him. But also, again, that shows a level of, no, I'm picking the team that I think is going to have the best chance of getting a result, which again is a very bold thing. So look, he's shown that he's the boss. He's shown that he takes no nonsense. We'll boil back to a little bit that's what I'm actually worried about, because we've got someone for the first time in a while who does have a bit of a voice and a bit of character and ain't afraid to speak his mind. And there are people at a club who don't particularly like people like that. So look, we'll see. But it's a very, very positive start, and we needed that character to shake things up, to spark some energy back into the place. And I can't really knock any of the calls that he made.
In terms of people at the club, who's your mystery guy?
No, the mystery guy. So it's not a mystery guy. I know that this is going to get massive backlash. Good for the comments, Geo, because we get lots of comments on the video, and that will help the video go further. But Diouf, for me, fantastic cross for the Bowen goal. Electric pace.
Yeah.
But some of those tackles he made, like that one late on in the game where the player's going past. I know he's got to bring him down. I know he's got to do it. But he done it earlier in the match as well. His defending is very, very suspect. And I just, while I love he's positive going forward, he's very important to the team because he's and I actually quite like him and Somerville down that left-hand side. So I'm not sitting here knocking him saying I think he's, not a player that I would want to see come on and grow, and that he's got, stuff that he brings to the team, because he clearly does. He does make me nervous when he gets players running at him. He's defending. He's just a little bit suspect. So I just wanted to call it out for what it was. That I understand going forward, he's great, but he does make me nervous.
I don't think that's anything controversial. I think that's fair. I think he was a bit like Magassa. He struggled early doors against Everton. I thought Ndiaye skinned him on a couple of occasions as well. But I thought he calmed down a little bit and he was composed. but I thought he was excellent overall. At the end of the game, I'm willing to give him a bit of a pass because it was so late on, and he does get close to dribbling and sort of get sold a little bit. I would have been angry had he not brought dribbling down. And it's a bit like Mavpanos when he shouldn't do what Mavpanos done, right? Which was, he could have cleared it. He tried to check inside, got the ball nicked off him, but he brought him down, gave away a free kick, got a booking. Now, he shouldn't have been in that situation. It's his own fault, and the pair of them are at fault. It's bad ball from Ariola, and it's a bad decision by Mavpanos not to clear his lines. But he could have made an even worse decision, which is like Dewsbury Hall running on goal. But he didn't. He brought him down, got the booking, shot went past, I suppose. And I think that can still be good defending in some way. And I think that's what Diouf done. You get skinned by a man, what are you going to do about it? And I think because he stuck his leg out and tripped him up and gave away the free kick, I would argue that's the better thing to do than letting Dibbling run into the box with the ball. So yes, should do better, but he's so young, and I think he will improve. And also, it was so late in the game as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Diouf was blowing out his arse at that point. And also, Dibbling's a tricky winger, someone that likes getting on the ball, taking players on. I'm willing to give him a bit of a pass on that one, but I think he had a good game overall. But yeah, his defending needs a little bit of fine tuning, but I'd rather work. Maybe this is me showing my sort of modern day fullback bias here. I'd rather work with a fullback who's excellent at going forward and suspect defensively than I would who's excellent defensively and suspect going forward. Because I think it's easier to coach the defense and aspect into a fullback than it is the attacking one. You take, say, there's numerous experienced fullbacks in the Premier League who they're okay, they're good defensively, but going forward, they're not very good. They never become good. Whereas I think sometimes you get the really good attacking ones, defensively unsure, but they tend to, with experience, get better. And I think that can be coached into them a little bit quicker. I think Diouf's going to go on and become a top player. But I agree. I don't think what you've said there is anything too controversial.
Dewsbury Hall booking was a definite booking, by the way, as well.
Do you think so?
Yeah, he studs up and he catches him. And
he does catch him.
You can't put your studs in like that. I watch the lower league football a lot, as you know. Yeah. I love lower league football, and I love the fact they let more go. The Charlton Blackburn game the other day, prime example. Referees just letting loads go. Quite funny. I sat behind the dugout. Literally, I was sitting with the Blackburn players, and their coaching. Well, one of their coaching staff got a booking. And seeing their reaction is so funny. But it's just, I love it because the refs let the game flow. They just don't pull stuff up. The game just has, while it's not as good a standard of football, I just prefer it's like football 10 years ago. So, but he definitely goes in like that. He studs a showing. He definitely catches him. Yeah, okay, he gets a touch on the ball, but I didn't like it. And I saw a lot of people whinging on TikTok about it, but I think
I've seen it differently. I think he does catch Walker Peters with his studs, right? I will agree with that. But I don't think he goes in like that. I think he kicks the ball and then the sort of natural movement of his foot leads him into Kyle Walker's Peters' foot, if that makes sense. Remember Balbuena against Chelsea when he cleared it and then he ended up studding someone on the knee? Yeah. But it was like, well, where's his foot meant to go? He's kicked the ball, and that's just a natural swing of his. And I think that's what I seen with Dewsbury Hall. I thought he kicked the ball, and a natural swing carry through meant that his studs connected with Kyle Walker Peters. So it wasn't a booking for me. But his reaction was a bit OTT, throwing himself to the floor, smacking the ground. I thought, well, if you didn't get booked for the foul, you were definitely getting booked for your reaction, which is a silly thing to have done anyway. But anything you'd like to discuss in regards to the Everton game before we move on to the Arsenal one?
No, like I say, I would have liked to have seen slightly different subs. I know he brought Guilherme on. I actually would have liked to have seen Wilson on the pitch when Somerville was on the pitch, because I thought Somerville was dangerous. I feel like he was looking for a natural striker, someone who could mix it up in the box, and he was trying to get the ball forward. Fullkrug was dropping so deep. I think that made it difficult for Somerville to have someone to hit inside the box. So I would have made a different call there. But again, that's nitpicking, really. Like I said, overall, I think we played very, very good football. Best football I've seen us play in a long time. I had a little bit nerves with regards to the fact that everyone calls him sort of a copy of Moyes football and it's too defensive. It was funny when he brought on Irving at the end and the camera pans to him and they're clearly going 5-5. So he was shutting up shop. There was no question of that. But I also feel like he did kind of go for it when it was there to be won. He felt like he was giving us the best chance to go on and win it. And then when he realised the game was passing us and they started to come strong in the last 5 minutes, he just decided to shut up shop. So
yeah, those subs came in 93rd minute as well. So it was like 90 seconds on the clock. And I think at that point, I was willing to shut up shop and take a point. You know, we've had a bit of a pop. On another day, maybe we nick the win. We haven't done. Everton are trying to pinch the win. They're at home. They've got a little bit of momentum. Get your extra defender on, get your fresh midfielder on, take the point, get back down to East London and start again for Arsenal. I agree with these subs. I have a frustration when you're playing for a point and you start doing those subs in the 70th minute. That's when I'll have an issue. But in the 93rd minute, zero complaints from me. Moving on to Saturday then, Frankie, a tough game away to Arsenal. How are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to feel like as we said, going into these two games, when we heard that they was going to write them off, we said, well, no, let's give ourselves a chance of getting something from them. Well, we've already got something from one. No reason why we can't go and get something from another one now. The only thing that makes me nervous is I think we saw a blueprint the other day of how you can, from Newcastle, of how you really rattle Arsenal. Because Arsenal were rattled. I mean, big time. What looks like their defence is so solid and very, very difficult to upset. Newcastle had them all over the shop. And it was just by being able to mix it up with them. Just not sure we're a team that can mix it up with anyone at the moment. I'm not sure that's our strength. I'm not sure we've got the personnel to do it. I'm not sure we've got the midfield to do it. We sort of spoke that Fullkrug could be that man in pre-season, that he was this machine who was ready and raring to go. I'm not so sure I've seen that from him either. And I don't even think changing to Wilson changes that. I actually think you can play into their hands even more if you switch to Wilson. So the lack of firepower, the lack of players with that right type of aggression and physicality to go in and really upset Arsenal is the only thing that makes me feel like it's going to be a tough ask to go and get a win from there. But I'm full of positivity. I'm full of, I've seen how we can play. We can hit them on the breaks. Somerville is looking dangerous. Bowen's looking dangerous. Go and get another point, Gio, I think.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I do wonder if it's maybe, I think if we were playing most teams this weekend, I'd be feeling quite positive about it. I'd be like, yeah, we've got the point now. I think I'm not going to say it's going to feel like a win for the players, but I think there will be a morale boost off the back of that. Stop the rot kind of thing. I think training ground will be a bit of a happier place this week than it was last week. I'm just having a quick look here to see how Arsenal got on against Nottingham Forest last season. And I can tell you, at the Emirates, it was Arsenal 3, Nottingham Forest 0. But at the City Ground, it was Nottingham Forest 0, Arsenal 0. So they managed to keep them out on their home patch. Their home game, which was 0-0, they had 6 shots. Arsenal had 13, but Arsenal only had 1 shot on target in that game. 11 corners. So Nottingham Forest successfully defended 11 corners in that match against Arsenal. The game at the Emirates, though, Arsenal scored after 15 minutes. And it looked like one-way traffic after that. Arsenal ended up having 19 shots, 7 shots on target. Nottingham Forest only had 7 shots, no shots on target. 8 corners Arsenal had that game. And I'm having a quick look, and I don't think they would have scored from a corner. Just looking at the goal scorers, there's no Gabriel or anything like that. So maybe not the best record from Nuno up against Arsenal, even with a good Nottingham Forest team last season. I think it's just a difficult fixture for them. They are playing their sort of 3rd game in 7 days, Arsenal. They've got Newcastle, Champions League, West Ham. So hopefully that'll give us a slight advantage. But they just feel like a different machine to me, Arsenal, at the minute. That goal against City to get the draw, then that goal to win it against Newcastle. That's a team with a little bit of grit in my eyes. And I'm prepared to sort of write this one off, if I'm honest with you. Now, it's different writing it off because the manager's crap, which is what the board were doing, compared to writing it off because we don't really want to judge the new manager on this fixture early doors. And that's where I am. I think this is just, he will have been here for a week when we kick off against Arsenal. I'm looking to sort of judge Nuno after the international break. Brentford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle away, Burnley at home. Those are the 4 games where we're going to have to pick up minimum 7 points, I think, possibly even more than that. That's the 4 games I'm going to say, right, now we need to see the impact of Nuno. I just think this one's a bit too much. I don't really want to put the pressure on. What are you smirking for? Do you disagree?
No. The only thing, Mike, I just can't write off a London derby. London derbies are not. I get what you're saying. Write it off in terms of it. If it goes wrong,
yeah, we get beat. I don't blame Nuno. Well,
no, if we
depending how the game goes, but at this point, I don't feel like it would be a reflection of Nuno. I hope we go there. I feel quite confident we're going to make it difficult and we're going to be hard to break down and hard to beat. But we can. I'll bite your hand off now for a point. Never mind a win. I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, a point would be a very, very good result. And if we come away with something from both games, of 2 games that were supposed to be written off, then the managerial decision is exactly been proven. So, it's I just love to get one over on them. We always had it in us to do it before. Like you say, they are a different machine now, but
we've beaten them last year and the year before we've beaten them, so we are capable.
Yeah, we are. So I'm going to fancy us a little bit. Like I say, I think the win's a big ask, but I'm confident we can nick something from the game. I am.
Yeah. Give us your score prediction. I know it's early in the week. It is only, just a reminder, it's only Tuesday afternoon, so we haven't seen Arsenal play in the Champions League.
My problem is I don't see us keeping a clean sheet, but I don't see us scoring more than 1 goal. So I have to go 1-1 again.
I'll take that. I'll be happy with that. Well, Frankie, thank you very much. A pleasure as always. If you guys at home have enjoyed the podcast, please do kindly drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up underneath the video. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. Myself and Frankie will catch up with you next week, where hopefully we'll be celebrating another good performance and maybe a cheeky 3 points from the Emirates. We'd like a little bit of that. We'll catch you in a bit.